Our year in review continues. I'm John Pollock along with John Ramdeen and Robin Black, and we are putting out our forecast for 2017. We're going to go through all of the weight classes in the UFC, all 11 of them, now that we have the addition of a women's featherweight class, and look at who will be the champions on December the 31st of 2017. So we are going to start off with the women's strawweight division, which has been dominated by one woman this year, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And all three of us believe that 1 year from now, it will be Queen Joanna on top of the 115-pound mountain, because I think we look at the different challenges she's had this year, Claudia Gadelha, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I don't see that strawweight that is going to be coming around, but this is also one where we may look like fools a year from now.
Yeah, we're going to look like fools regardless.
No, this segment is designed for that.
But the reality is, we've seen who the players are at 115 pounds, and we've seen that Joanna is different. We were talking about it before, that Miesha Tate, once she got the championship, it's like, well, what are the goals now? What are we trying to accomplish? We were trying to become a UFC champion. Jędrzejczyk, for example, she became the champion, decided to mix things up. I'm going to American Top Team to further my mixed martial arts career. That is a winner's mentality. She's doing what she can to be a complete mixed martial artist, and you can understand that's why she would be the champion this time next year.
Did you guys see the breakdown I did with Joanna?
Yes.
We got a little thing going, me and her.
We'll see. Some interesting challenge. Rose Namajunas, Jessica Andrade, fighters that I think we could see fight for the title in 2017. But we move on up to the women's Bantamweight division, and this one's interesting because we're all over the place. I am picking Juliana Pena to be champion a year from now. John Ramdeen is going with Holly Holm, who's next fighting for this women's featherweight title. You believe she'll fight there and then come back to 135. And then Robin, you have Valentina Shevchenko, who is fighting Juliana Pena next. So you and I can't both be right. So.
Well, we could if they come back and meet each other still.
You're both wrong. Holly's winning.
I don't know, man. I think Holly's going to be busy winning the other one.
Well, she's going to win that, too. Then she's going to get knocked out by
This is a division that's tough because, I mean, this featherweight division is going to need fighters, and it'll be interesting how many of the bantamweights are willing to go up and how that throws a wrench into plans at either 135 or 145.
You guys noticed none of us picked Ronda Rousey.
I know.
You know? On some level, I don't think she'll be fighting at the end of next year.
We then go to the women's featherweight division, which has just been created, as Holly Holm will be fighting Germaine de Randamie February the 11th in Brooklyn. Myself and John Ramdeen, we are picking Chris Cyborg Justino to return and then win that championship. And Robin, you're picking Holly Holm, presumably to win in February and then keep it throughout the year.
That's what I think is going to happen. Now, my opinion, she is the most skilled woman in all of mixed martial arts. You take her long history of boxing and kickboxing, so many high-level combat sports. She had two performances, one where she lost in the last few seconds of fight that she was winning to lose the title, and then the worst performance of her career. Now, credit goes to Shevchenko, who I think will be the bantamweight champion, in fact. But also, Holly had a terrible performance. That lesson, I think, will shape her. I think she's the only woman in the world who can beat Cyborg, who I believe is so close to being unbeatable. If and when those two fight, it'll be such a magical fight.
We go over to another division that has been dominated by one individual for the entire duration that the UFC has been promoting this weight class, that being Demetrious Johnson at 125 pounds. He just passed his 4-year mark as champion this past September when he defeated Joseph Benavidez to become champion, and that could be his next title defense. I mean, at this point, he's just simply chasing history. His next title defense would tie him for the all-time record with Anderson Silva at 10. And that's the appeal right now to me of Demetrious Johnson, beyond just his skill inside of the cage, because this is going to be one where maybe someone's going to come along and just stun everybody, much like Tim Elliott did in that first round of his last fight.
Yeah, but the thing about it, it was a 25-minute fight. Yes, Tim Elliott had a good first round, but you're going to have good moments. It's fighting. That's what happens.
Demetrious adjusted
and that's
controlled
what it comes,
the rest of
that
the
is
20
exactly
minutes.
what it comes down to. That's why Demetrious Johnson, we all believe that he's going to be the 125-pound champion at the end of 2017 because he has a complete understanding. He believes in his coaches. He does what his coaches say. And above that, he executes perfectly inside of the cage. And, you know, when you look at 125 pounds, they put everybody in front of them, and he's passed with flying colors. I think a better opportunity or a better option for Demetrious Johnson is to move up to 135 pounds or give this guy some super fights so he can make some real money. If he doesn't want to do that, just keep killing them at 125 pounds.
Exactly. People sometimes talk about how much attention he does or doesn't get. Hey, I'm sure he's pretty happy with that. And Matt, too. Matt is the highest level mind in all of fighting. and he's able to do it quietly with the highest level athlete in all of fighting, over there by themselves, not being under the microscope, and truly progress the art and the martial arts.
Dominic Cruz goes into UFC 207 as champion, and then after that, all three of us believe that he's going to retain the title against Cody Garbrandt and then run the table in 2017. On the other hand, with him, this is a fascinating division where I do feel Dominic Cruz keeps this title, but he could have some very interesting fights. We have TJ Dillashaw about to fight John Lineker. We also have people like Jimmy Rivera in the mix coming off that win over Uriah Faber. Some interesting fights potentially for Dominic Cruz, but I'm expecting him to have a big year.
Dominic Cruz wants some big money fights, so we're just trying to find somebody that can test Dominic Cruz. I think right now, after this fight with Cody Garbrandt, the fight that makes sense is the fight with TJ Dillashaw. Of course, he has to get past Lineker.
He's the best fighter in the sport. He's also the best mind in the sport right now, and he's still getting better. But as long as he isn't starting to assume he's going to win these fights, he approaches them each one the way he always had, and he should do just fine. That TJ is a threat to him, and he's getting better as well. So when that fight happens, it's going to be amazing.
Okay, I'm going to lump featherweight and lightweight together because they were attached at the hip with Conor McGregor this year. The two of us, me and John Ramdeen, we are picking Max Holloway to be featherweight champion a year from now. You're going for a bit of a left field pick, but maybe not in Cub Swanson. And then at lightweight, we all believe Conor McGregor has the title a year from now.
Yeah, Cub Swanson has been getting better and better, and he's turned a corner as far as his mental strength and his ability to keep improving. That fight with Doo Ho Choi, where we've talked a lot about how that will make Doo Ho Choi better, and it'll make Cub Swanson better too. He's creative, he's innovative, he's so mentally present in the moments, and he's hungry. And I think at the end of next year, Cub Swanson's going to be the featherweight champ. I believe in you, Cub Swanson.
It'll be interesting as well how many times Conor McGregor fights in 2017 because you know the UFC is going to want to get hopefully 2 fights out of him if he's not fighting till the summer.
Khabib and Tony are both threats to him. And a third Nate Diaz fight, man. Nate figured it out the first time. Nate is very smart, man. He's a smart guy. There's always holes. There's always ways to beat people. Don't put it past Nate being able to do it.
Welterweight is all over the place. We all have different picks. I believe that Tyron Woodley is going to keep the title this year, though the one you picked is the one that I think is the biggest threat, and that is Damian Maia. And you're going with Stephen Thompson, which very well could be the next fight.
We talked about learning. We just talked about that with Swanson and Doo Ho Choi. I think Thompson learned more in the fight against Woodley than Woodley learned in the fight against Thompson. I think there was more to learn because you had to experience that real world speed and power. And really, we know if he takes you down, he's going to hurt you. If he lands the right hand, it's those two-pronged weapon. And now he experienced them. And I think Stephen Thompson's going to be the champion.
The reason why I'm taking Damian Maia is if you spent any time with this guy, you understand he's an intelligent individual. He understands this is a game of skill and toughness, and Damian Maia just plays a different game in mixed martial arts where people just can't catch up to him. They don't know what he's doing. Even athletes that have a lifetime of wrestling, he just finds a way because of his high level of skill. And if he manages to find a way to put Stephen Thompson at the ground, because we imagine that eventually these two will be matched up with each other, that he'll find a way to do what he did to Carlos Condit and find a way to do what he did to Matt Brown.
Up at 185 pounds, Michael Bisping goes into the year as middleweight champion, but we're all expecting that title to change at least once. Myself and John Ramdeen going with Jacare. You've got Yoel Romero.
Yeah, Yoel Romero can knock anybody out with one moment. In that last fight against Chris, he showed patience and intelligence in that fight. He's a terrifying threat at 185
I wouldn't be surprised if Yoel Romero does beat Michael Bisping, but when we saw, we all love Michael Bisping. Well, we saw what Yoel Romero looked like in that fight with Chris Weidman, for God's sakes. And then we remember what happened when Jacare and Yoel Romero fought. I think it's pretty safe to say that Jacare was robbed in that fight. And I think if they faced off again, it would be Jacare, the Jiu-Jitsu Masters night.
We're running out of time. Light heavyweight, you and I picking Anthony Johnson. You and me are in a lot of agreement. And then Robin is picking John Jones, who is now able to come back in July. That's going to be a really interesting division to see where it's at come year's end. And then to finish off in the heavyweight division, myself and Robin this time agreeing that Stipe Miocic is still heavyweight champion.
Makes sense.
Ramdeen believes Cain Velasquez wins it back.
Cain. Yeah, Cain, just based on everything he's done over the last 5 or 6 years, you know, when you see an on Cain Velasquez, a ready to perform highest level Cain Velasquez, and we saw what he's capable of in that fight with Travis Brown, throwing that spinning kick. When Cain's on, he's the man.
Stipe Miocic does things that featherweights do, and he does it at heavyweight. And I think he's going to be the champ this time next year.
We have 11 divisions as we end the year. By next year, How many more weight classes do you feel there will be in the UFC? I feel women's 125 pounds needs to be added.
Conor McGregor's going to be champ of all of them.
Yeah,
Even the women's
Even
division.
the women's
even the women's division. We're hearing complaints. A lot of people between 155 pounds and 170 pounds, they feel that there needs to be a weight division there, as well as 185 pounds to 205 pounds. That's just too big of a jump between middleweight and light heavyweight. So I think a division needs to be there.
More
as well.
belts for McGregor.
More belts for McGregor.
Plenty of weight classes to look forward to in 2017. Lots of big fights on the horizon. That is going to bring our year in review show to a close. Thank you to all of you for tuning in all year long. We're looking forward to lots of big coverage next year. For Robin Black, John Ramdeen, I'm John Pollock, and have a tremendous New Year's.